They said the more we're learning, the more we're noticing that it's really important that we cover trauma. And they said, we'd like to come back to you to interview you about this, because I'm really clear in how I speak about it. And I think that was really valuable that they acknowledged that, you know, when you're working with sexuality and when you're working with your own sexuality, trauma needs to be part of the conversation. And how do we work with that? You know, so from capital T trauma, where people who have experienced abuse and assault, etc., to actually just the trauma of living in a society when you're not given permission to be your fullest sexual expression. You know, we were all told as children, stop touching yourself, stop flashing your knickers at the boys, don't talk about sex, you know, all of these different things. They're all like micro shutdowns for us. And we very quickly learn that sex isn't safe. Talking about sex, expressing sexuality, touching ourselves, all of these things aren't safe and aren't acceptable, and we'll get told off or shamed or shunned by society, community, our family. And that hits a survival instinct in us. So actually not being sexual beings is what keeps us safe on one fundamental level. So I'm really enjoying the fact that they asked me to do an interview about trauma and the effect that that has on sexuality and how it can be stored in the body. So how these young experiences of shaming and guilt and conditioning have an effect on our adult sexual selves, and how we can, you know, work with the body to work with that and to release that. And ultimately, that's part of the full body orgasm work that I offer. It's not actually about do this and you will become orgasmic. It's a lot more on, okay, let's look at what gets in the way of our fullest sexual expression and find ways that we can just acknowledge that before we move forward into pleasure.